how to explore new markets. Why should I share this stuff? I'm sharing some trade secrets. You might take them and run away with them. I hope you do that, because this affordable housing thing needs to be fixed. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Exploring a new investment market. Number one, you got to get an industry expert for that specific market. I found an amazing blessing of a man I found at the Grant Cardone event in Florida just a few months ago, and he owns 30 plus stores. So, industry expert. And it turned out this was actually a market I wanted to go to, check out in Wisconsin. And so we talked, and the funniest thing was, I was on the way out of the Grant Cardone event. I was pooped out. I was tired. I was like, okay, come on, Stace, let's go rest. And they were just in the hallway, just right coming out. And I was like, let's just meet one more. I think Stacy was even talking to that group first. It was 4 individuals. So I got to talking, and it turns out this guy, his name is Rambo, or maybe nicknamed Rambo, but he owns 30 plus stores in this market I'm looking at. And I was like, look at God, just dropping this last little gem, which I guess is a inherently kind of tip of its own, right? You may think you've networked with enough people, because at that point I already had like 20 people that were fantastic individuals, but it was just that one that was really the best blessing on the way out, that I could have just walked right around. So that's how you get an industry expert. Now, number 2, you want to just ask them to show you the areas, right? If they're a good person, they're not going to be like, yo, leave me alone. I don't like you. I don't like showing stuff. I don't like showing you how I made my wealth. No, a good wealthy person, which I would argue a good amount of them are, they want to show people how to do this stuff, will be open to showing you the areas. So, I gave them some heads up. Hey, I'm going to be in that area in a few weeks. I actually traveled there also to see a comedian, but that's another story. So I reached out to him, say, hey man, I'll be about there in about a week. You want to grab some coffee or something? Maybe if you have time, show me some of the areas around there. And we talked about it. We talked about it in coffee, using literally just a Google map. He pointed, this is the area you want to invest in. This is the rough price points, and this when you cross over this block, there's going to be more crime, which is useful for me to know, obviously, because if there's a red flag zone that he himself would not invest in, that's serious consideration for me, right? Now, I usually invest in C and D class neighborhoods, so that's a factor. But there's something that even I would be like, this is questionable, and he was also the same way. After coffee, I just casually asked him, hey, you got some extra time? Maybe we could just drive by those on your way to your next thing. And he said, yeah. And I think it was a great it was a reason for him to do that, because we got good rapport. I was able to see what he was like in that 20-minute coffee, and that's another factor. You want to be warm, you want to generate rapport when you're building a new relationship. Just standard like making a new friendship, right? And so we went over there, drove by there, I followed him. We were on speaker the entire time on our cars, and so he told me, hey, you see this street over here? This is great, it's fantastic. You see how this, I could have bought this property over here for X price, but I just kind of was afraid of it because of it was just ugly looking. So little tidbits like that he shared. So that particular property, the ugly one, actually could have been a great investment for him, but he just didn't like the curb appeal of it. So he walked me through valuable information that even though a house may have ugly curb appeal in that area, the valuations may still be dramatic. So because of a park nearby or a YMCA nearby, factors like that. What else did we cover? well, as we were driving further, he covered a street that I really just don't want to invest in. He said that there was one particular street that just has all the crime. Like, they just focus on that street. So you could be one street over, and it's just, you'll find a good deal, and it'll be safe, or relatively safe, rather. So that was useful information, but another aspect to useful information was he would show me how crossing a major highway, the values would drastically shift. So, but it would still be good deals. So he showed me how a duplex could cost 40 grand here, and it would cash flow well, but on this better area, he would buy it in a heartbeat, even though it was double, 80 grand. But he would buy it because it was a better, just more beautiful area. It would be a great price for that. Great price for that area because everything is in the upper hundreds. Especially if it's a duplex, it'd be cash flowing immediately. So that was useful information, and I was kind of asking little questions here and there throughout. And then lastly, how to explore new markets is to just ask literally what groups and people he knows, what events he goes to find his deals. And he's been there since he was small, so he knows all sorts of people. But he introduced me to the Facebook groups he attends or visits. But he also has people that he's just done business with before that just feeds him deals immediately, which is why he's come up to 30 plus doors, and he kind of lives a casual life now. He doesn't even go to networking events, so that didn't apply to him. So that's kind of the last factor. I'm trying to think of what else. After we got done driving, it was probably getting closer to 1 o'clock, which initially was supposed to be 3 minutes, but it took quite a while because he even was so comfortable. He showed me some of his properties. We walked through some of them, a duplex and a triplex. And the triplex he bought was close to 50 grand, and it was rent-ready condition, which was like, because I just bought, close to 50 grand duplex here in South Georgia, and if it was that size of a triplex, I would have jumped on it immediately. So I look forward to getting deals like that from him, from his network, and the blessing from all that. So it was awesome, but it was even more awesome to hear his story afterwards, because towards the end of the driving, or rather, it wasn't even the end, we didn't officiate an end. I said, as we were going through a busy intersection, "Hey man, I'm getting hungry. You want to grab something around here? You know anything around here?" And he said, "Yeah, it so happens. I'm glad you asked me. Right around the corner is a great Jamaican place." And so right at that lunch, I was able to get deeper into who he was, who he is today. And I asked him about his upbringing, and it turns out he grew up in a foster home with I think he said 10 plus kids or something like that. And it was just one single mom managing it all. It had older siblings that were her natural children. So they kind of was supportive of her mother too, of their mother. So that helped. But do you hear that stuff every day? Somebody that grew up in a foster home that now has 30 plus doors under their belt. And I really wish that he had allowed me to record a video, but it was like, I'm good. It was very shy, and especially, you don't hear that, especially from a fellow minority, which was just amazing to me. So maybe next time I swing back around there, he'll be open to making a video. But it's just amazing to hear what you could do in America if you put your mind to it. But also, it was also a subject of he was close to the right person. The way he bought his first property was literally by a guy he worked at a regular job with. And so you never know who could help you get a leg up if you're just open to it. Because it turns out this coworker of his he showed this car he bought, a Rambo, showed his coworker, and he said, "Man, I could have showed you how to buy a property for the same amount you spent on that car. So let me know when you sell that thing." And it just goes to show you, you could buy a house for the value of a car in America if you're just looking in the right areas, and if you have the focus to do it right. Because if you don't necessarily have close to 50 grand, you gotta have the courage, the wherewithal to find the people with that 50 grand and partner with them, or have the courage to just ask family members or friends. And if you present it the right way, it's an easy sell. If I told you 50 grand property will cash flow, what would that be? 2,400 at the worst case scenario, right? 800 times 3. I hope I'm doing the math right on that. It's going to cash flow 2,400, and that's conservative, right? 800 per side, or per level, because that triplex he showed me was, I think, 2 to 3 bedrooms per level. So 800 is really on the low side. You probably get each for 1,200 minimum. But if you told that to anybody, you could split profits with them. You could, do the sweat equity on the property and get partnership and negotiate 50-50, 60-40, whatever. Now you're just that much more wealthier. And so it takes a little bit of courage, but it's also kind of an easy sell if you think about it. Because what would anybody with 50 grand prefer to do? Leave it in a CD that they can't touch for 5 years and get a fraction of a percentage point per year? Or get something that's redonkulous returns? 2,400 times 12 is, I don't know, a lot of money. So that's going to destroy any CD, any bank savings account, any stock. Stocks are like gambling nowadays. They go and then right? So if you're having trouble with raising capital too, know that it's not that hard of a sell when you have a valuable deal that you found. Alright, so that wraps up the video. Again, what I covered to explore new markets was get an industry expert, ask them to show you the areas, ask them to show you what groups and networking events to attend to get those deals. Catch you later.